He was only trying to get home something he'd done 1,000 times before. But that night, a simple walk turned into a moment that would shake an entire community. One wrong glance, one ignorant assumption, and suddenly he became a target in a place he thought was safe. What happened next didn't just expose prejudice. It revealed how quickly a quiet street can become a battlefield for someone judged by the color of their skin. And as the truth unfolds, you'll wonder, how many times has this happened without anyone ever knowing? Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from. And subscribe to Herovia, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. It started like any other day in his quiet routine. Derek Johnson, a 32-year-old warehouse supervisor, clocked out after a long shift, joking with coworkers as he packed up his lunchbox. He wasn't the kind of man who made trouble. He worked hard, kept to himself, and looked forward to nothing more than heading home to his mother's cooking and the warmth of his small, familiar neighborhood. Most evenings were peaceful. Derek would cut through the same blocks he'd walked since he was a teenager, past the corner store that still smelled like fresh bread, the old basketball court where he once dreamed of going pro, and the row of houses where everyone knew his name. It was the kind of community where kids played outside until dark, and neighbors waved from their porches. But lately, something about the world felt different. A tension he couldn't quite name. He'd noticed the way strangers sometimes stared too long. The way people locked their car doors when he crossed the street. The way a woman recently clutched her purse tighter when he stepped into an elevator. None of it was new, but it was happening more. And it was happening closer to home. Still, Derek brushed it off. He told himself he was imagining it. Overreacting. That evening, as he turned onto the familiar road leading toward his block, he had no idea that someone else was turning onto the same street, someone who didn't see him as a neighbor or a man just trying to get home, someone who saw a threat. And in just a few minutes, Derek's life would shift from ordinary to unforgettable. Derek had taken barely a dozen steps onto his block when he heard the low hum of an engine crawling behind him. Not fast, not passing by, just following. He glanced back casually, pretending not to be bothered, but the sight made his pulse thump hard in his throat. A silver SUV. Tinted windows. No headlights. Even though the street was darkening, he tried to shake it off. People drove slowly through the neighborhood all the time. Kids played in the road. Dogs ran loose. Potholes were everywhere. But when Derek stepped onto the sidewalk, the SUV slowed even more, matching his pace. Then came the first sign something was wrong. A camera flash, not bright enough for a picture, just enough to blind him for a second. Someone inside that SUV was recording him. Derek's stomach tightened. He adjusted his bag, lengthened his stride, and headed toward the corner where the streetlights were brightest. But the SUV crept forward, staying just far enough back to avoid suspicion. Just close enough to send a message. "We're watching you." He heard a voice inside, muffled but sharp. A man. Angry. "Yeah, that's him. Just walking around like he owns the place." Derek's breath caught. He wasn't sure if the voice was on a phone call or aimed at him. Either way, the words chilled him. He kept walking, faster now. His house was 2 blocks away. Just 2 blocks. Then the SUV suddenly accelerated, swerving closer until the passenger window aligned with him. Derek saw the reflection in the glass, first a pale, narrowed pair of eyes locked on his back. The window rolled down an inch. "Where are you headed?" The man inside barked. Derek didn't respond. He didn't have to. The tone said everything. It wasn't curiosity, it was accusation, suspicion, ownership. He crossed the street, pretending to ignore them. The SUV swung around, tires skidding. Now the window rolled all the way down. A phone appeared, camera aimed at his face. "There. Got him," the man muttered. "Walking through here like he's scouting houses." Derek stopped cold. Scouting houses? His jaw tightened, his heart hammered. This was his street, his block, his home. "Sir," Derek said, keeping his voice steady, forcing calm he didn't feel. "I live here." "Sure you do," the driver spat. "Funny how crime's been up and suddenly you're strolling around." "I just got off work." "Yeah," the man sneered. "Bet you did." Derek felt heat rising in his chest, fear and anger mixing until he could taste the bitterness. He looked around, hoping anyone was outside, but the block was quiet. Too quiet. Then the man lifted something from the seat beside him. Not a weapon, a walkie-talkie. "I'm calling this in," he said. "We're not playing games tonight." Derek's blood ran cold. Calling who? Security? Police? A neighborhood watch? Someone worse? And more importantly, what did they think he had done? Before Derek could speak, the SUV lurched forward, cutting him off on the sidewalk. The passenger door cracked open. And for the first time, Derek realized this wasn't about suspicion anymore. This was about control. The passenger door swung wide, and Derek stumbled back as a man in a security jacket stepped out, broad-shouldered, red-faced, and already convinced of a crime that didn't exist. The SUV's engine idled behind him, rumbling like a warning. "Turn around," the man ordered. Not a request, a command. "For what?" Derek's voice cracked despite his effort to stay calm. "I told you I live on this block." The man raised the walkie-talkie, pressing the button so hard it crackled. "Suspect is resisting. Possible burglary scout. Moving in." Suspect. Burglary. Resisting. Words that had ended lives. Derek's lungs tightened. His hands tingled. The street suddenly felt too small, too dark, too dangerous. He wasn't even sure what to do. Stand still? Walk away? Raise his hands? Every choice felt like a trap. The man stepped closer, jabbing a finger into Derek's chest. "You think you can just stroll around here like nobody's watching? We know what you people do after dark." Those 3 words, "you people do," hit Derek harder than any shove. His breath caught. His vision blurred at the edges. This wasn't safety. This wasn't neighborhood watch. This was racial profiling wrapped in a badge with no authority, and a man who believed it gave him the right to control him. "Turn around now," the man shouted, reaching for Derek's arm. Derek backed up instinctively. "Don't step away from me." The man lunged, grabbing Derek's jacket, yanking him so hard he nearly fell. Derek's knee hit the ground. Pain shot up his leg. "Stop! I haven't done anything. His voice echoed down the street, too loud, too desperate. That was when the walkie-talkie crackled again. "Back up en route. 2 minutes out. 2 minutes. 2 minutes until more men arrived who would already believe he was guilty. 2 minutes until things could spiral into something irreversible." The man pinned Derek's arm behind his back, forcing his face toward the pavement. Derek felt the cold concrete inches away, and one terrifying thought hit him like a punch to the chest. Would this be the night he didn't make it home? All because someone decided he didn't belong in his own neighborhood? Help came from where Derek least expected it. A porch light flicked on, then another. A neighbor stepped outside, an older woman who'd watched Derek grow up, followed by 2 teenagers with phones already recording. Voices rose, sharp and questioning. The man holding Derek hesitated, suddenly aware he wasn't hidden in the dark anymore. The street that felt empty moments ago was now a witness. Within seconds, the so-called backup arrived, a pair of volunteers from the neighborhood watch. Confused to find a man pinned to the ground over nothing more than walking home, one of them recognized Derek immediately and stepped between them, demanding the officer let go. And just like that, the man released him. No apology, no explanation, just anger shifting into embarrassment as he backed away, muttering excuses that didn't matter. Derek stood up, shoulders shaking, dust clinging to his palms. He had made it home that night, but he didn't walk inside as the same man. The fear, the humiliation, the knowledge that his skin alone had marked him as a threat. It settled into a place he couldn't ignore. What happened to him wasn't an isolated moment of mistaken identity. It was part of a pattern, one that stretched across cities, across generations, across lives that never made the news. Every black man who had been questioned for existing, every child warned to move carefully, every parent praying their loved one made it back. Derek filed a report. The community rallied, but even surrounded by support, one question stayed with him long after the adrenaline faded. Why did it take witnesses, cameras, and raised voices for the truth to matter? And maybe the real question, the one all of us must face, is this: how many more Dereks will it take before simply walking home stops being a dangerous act? If this story moves you, share it. Talk about it.